My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard and they're like, it's better than yours, damn right, it's better than yours. I feel like I'm forgetting something.
Last time on Trystan Petrash.
So today I want to show you a dish that became popular, strawberry milk. Right. Alright, so as I was saying last week, Ramdon or Jjapaguri is the combination of the two Korean instant noodles, Chapaghetti and Neoguri. Chapaghetti being an instant version of jjajangmyeon or black bean noodles. You can check out episode 53 if you want to try making your own. And Neoguri being an instant seafood flavored ramyun. But this dish became an overnight sensation when it was featured in the 2019 award-winning movie Parasite, where it's used to make a socio-political statement about the wealth gap when one of the wealthy Park family members makes Jjapaguri, an inexpensive dish but adds an incredibly expensive cut of beef to it. In the movie, they use Hanwoo beef, but because I'm not made of money, I'm using this really nice thick cut of strip loin, which is at least a prime cut. We're going to start by drying the outside with some paper towel. This is going to help to form a nice crust on the outside. Then go ahead and heavily season the outside with kosher salt. I know this may look like an obscene amount, but I promise it won't be salty tasting. The salt will draw moisture out, which will also help aid us in making that deep brown crust. Season both sides with some freshly cracked black pepper as well. Now, Ramdon is generally made by cutting the beef into small cubes and cooking them in a pan. But since this dish is all about privilege and excess, I think a better way of demonstrating this is by butter basting it in a cast iron pan, like you would get in a fine dining restaurant. This 10.5-inch pan actually belonged to my grandmother and is roughly 60 to 70 years old. It's also my favorite. We're going to start by adding some canola oil and rubbing it in with some paper towel until the surface is dry and slick. Place the pan over medium-high heat and add a few tablespoons worth of canola oil. If you have a hood vent or a window nearby, I would strongly recommend using them since this is going to generate a lot of smoke. Speaking of smoke, once you start to see white smoke coming off the pan, lay the steak down away from you to avoid splashing hot oil. You want to press lightly but firmly on the steak to make sure the entire surface of the bottom comes in contact with the pan. Alternatively, you could use a grill press as well, just don't push it down hard. After a few minutes, you'll end up with this golden brown crust on the bottom, at which point you can flip the steak over and reduce the heat to medium. Toss in a good tablespoon worth of butter and some aromatics. I'm using a few smashed cloves of garlic and a piece of ginger, but you could also throw in some fresh herbs or even some green onions. Slide the steak to the back of the pan and carefully tilt it back towards you until the butter and melted fat pool at the bottom. Then just repeatedly baste until the steak is cooked through. I normally go for a medium rare steak, but for this dish specifically, I like it more on the medium side, so a bit firm with still a bit of spring to it. Place the steak on a cutting board, then using your sharpest knife, do absolutely nothing. Allow the steak to rest for at least 5 minutes before slicing. In the meantime, bring a pot of water to boil over high heat. Remove the dried vegetable packet and soup base from the Neoguri. You'll notice how thick the noodles are in this one, which is definitely one of its best selling points. The Chapaghetti also has a dried vegetable packet and soup base, but also comes with a packet of vegetable oil. The noodles are more of a standard ramen in this one. Once the water comes to a boil, add both packs of noodles and gently stir until they start to break apart. While that's cooking, we can thinly slice some green onion for garnish. When the noodles are tender and cooked through, remove from the heat and strain. However, I've left a good half a cup or so of the cooking water in the pot just to give the seasoning packet something to dissolve in. Add all of the vegetable and soup-based packets to the pot. If you've never had Neoguri before, they come with these adorable panda face fish cakes. Like, seriously, how cute is that? Once everything is in, give it a good and thorough mix. Now, Ramdon is made using spicy Neoguri, but I like to be able to control the amount of heat in mine, so I go for the mild version, but add a teaspoon or so of gochugaru. That way there's some heat, but it's not overwhelming. The last thing I'll add is a good pinch of kosher salt, since most pre-made and packaged things are generally on the bland side. I left the fat on the steak while it cooked to help keep it juicy, but I'm going to trim it all off before slicing, since I want the steak pieces to be as tender and easy to eat as possible. Slice the steak against the grain and a bit thinner than you would if you were just having a steak. Because we allowed the steak to rest, you'll notice it's not just spurting juices everywhere as we slice. Seriously, rest your proteins. Add the steak to the pot and give it one final mix. Then bust out your fanciest bowl, pile the Ramdon in the center, Place a few slices of steak on top because it looks pretty, top with sliced green onion and roasted sesame seeds. And that's it, Ramdon from the movie Parasite. Since we cook the steak separately from the noodles, it's far more tender and buttery and feels like I'm eating an expensive steak on top of less than $2 worth of noodles. Because, well, that's actually what it is, which kind of makes the dish itself a little ridiculous, but that's kind of the point. If you like my content and are interested in supporting my channel, you can check out my Ko-fi page. I'll leave a link in the description. Thanks for watching, and stay awesome.